And we're here. Episode 11. 11 of the Gil Can Run Show. I'm me. I'm Gil. I'm wearing a t-shirt that I got a couple years ago at the Wicked Good 5K in Lighthouse Point in New Haven. It was a fun race. I haven't had the opportunity to run it again, but it was a fun race. I forget what I was doing last year. Christopher Martin's maybe? I don't remember. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So here we are. It's been a big week. Been very busy personally. I was like totally wiped out yesterday. I'm like, you know what? I don't have the energy to give the people, the 5 of you that watch, I'm sure there's more than 5, but I'm just, being self-deprecating as I do, what you deserve from me, which is the best show I can do. The best, I guess it's become 45 minutes that I can come up with. 40 to 45 minutes. I do a TV hour is what I do. Or a radio hour, for that matter. I guess that is my communications background working for me. So, but here we are, right? Week 11. They did the ESPY Awards the other night. I don't know. I don't watch award shows. I don't do award shows. You know why I don't do award shows? Because they're whatever industry patting themselves on the back. I really don't care. All right? A lot of people have been complaining about Caitlyn Jenner again. All right? Oh, what did she ever do? She's not a hero or whatever. You know what? We've gone over this. She is to whatever level of a hero she is. Okay? And it's not you to decide, who's a hero and who's not. Because only, if we're going to make levels and everything, then, what's the point? So, it's not your decision. Actually, a couple people did post that today. So, those couple people, if you're watching, kudos to you. But the fact is that, there's no degrees here, okay? And you don't just have to put on a uniform or be some sort of agent of a state to be a hero, to sacrifice, to whatever. Caitlyn Jenner, millionaire, gold medal decathlete, all these things, reality TV, whatever, that's a thing. But, it is, but, it's something to be proud of. I don't know, people are proud of it, but they're stupid if they are. So, she had no idea how she was going to be received. It took guts to stand up and do that, okay? End of. And it's a stupid award show. It's the ESPYs. Who cares? It's ESPN awarding athletes stuff because athletes don't get awarded enough crap. Come on. And last year they gave it to Michael Sam, and nobody made a stink about it for being the first openly gay person to try out for the NFL. Did he even make it in the NFL? I don't know. I don't watch football, so I don't know if he's even in the NFL or not. How about that? I have no clue. But they gave it to him, and nobody complained. So whatever. On a personal note, my knee is still bothering me a little bit. I'm going to take it pretty easy this weekend. I'm going to do 10 easy miles on Saturday and probably 10 easy miles on Sunday, and I am shutting it down for the week because next weekend is my big, huge, new challenge weekend. It's a new challenge for me. I'm going to run a marathon on Friday night. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to drive from north of Boston, Massachusetts. I'm going to drive home. I'm going to eat. I'm going to sleep a little bit. I'm going to drive down to Queens, New York, and I'm going to run a 6-hour race and hopefully get a marathon distance in that 6-hour race. I know what you're thinking, well, for 6 hours, a marathon. Well, I've never done back-to-back marathons, right? And I don't know how my body's going to react running that much distance the day after I do a marathon. In fact, not even 24 hours after I do a marathon because the Friday night race starts at 9 p.m. and the 6-hour race starts at 5 p.m. So, I don't know how I'm going to react. I don't know how I'm going to feel. I don't know if I'm going to have enough fuel. There's a lot of, concerns running through my head. Are my legs going to cramp up horribly during the car ride? There's 8 million things. And I don't have any support. I don't have anyone that goes with me to these things, really. I have friends that I'll meet up with there, and people that I'll meet because I'm generally friendly. But I don't travel with anyone to these things because I don't have a girlfriend. My family lives their own lives, and frankly, when they do show up. I've had friends come to races, and that's cool. I've had family come to races, and that's cool. But for the most part, I'm driving myself or whatever. I'm getting, there myself. The one time was the Marin County Marathon, where I was out in San Francisco. I was visiting a friend. She, drove there and back and, whatever. Like, other than that, I'm on my own. Like, literally on my own. I don't have any support. So, logistical support, I should say. Let me be clear, because I have plenty of people that support me spiritually, emotionally, whatever you want to call it, as far as getting this stuff done. There are a lot of people pulling for me, but there's nobody there like carrying my bag. I'm carrying my own bag, and driving myself and everything. So there's a lot of worries. There's a lot of concerns that go into this. We're going to see how everything goes. I think I'm going to be okay. I think I'm going to be just fine, but at the same time, you never know. You don't know until race day, right? So there we have it. I need a haircut. I need to trim up the beard a little bit because, frankly, it's warm and it's itchy because it's summertime, so it's warm. But, we'll worry about that later. We're worrying about you right now in the show that you want. I don't know if you want this. I don't know. I'm just doing it, and whoever wants to watch it and share it with their friends and everything, by all means, enjoy. So, one of my friends posted on the Book Faces the other day about energy gels and how they have like these really nasty flavors that are coming out. And there was a picture of a margarita pizza power gel or something like that. Margarita pizza. I don't know if it was a goo product or power bar product or whatever, but it was a gel. And it was margarita pizza flavored. Margarita pizza, for people that don't know, is kind of the classic Neapolitan pizza. It is the dough, the cheese, slices of tomato, and basil. Margarita, right? It is the green, white, and red of the Italian flag for the Princess Margarita and whatever. But that's neither here nor there. So, I would never, we've talked about my troubles with energy gels and things like that making me poo during races, which is very uncomfortable, and so I don't eat them. So this is not a problem for me, but it is a problem for you. So, if you want to stay away from the nasty, yucky, chemical soup flavors, then do it. I decided in that, because of my dietary changes, because of just my desire to learn things and do things on my own. I'm always wondering about things. I always want to learn things. I sometimes piss people off because my natural curiosity comes off as, I don't know, I guess almost like an arrogance, or sometimes it seems like I'm trying to mansplain something when I'm wondering how something, I'll talk about this later, how something is working for a woman. But I'm not. I'm honestly, I want to know how this works. So, if it's a mechanical thing particularly, I'm like, some people get distracted by shiny objects and things like that. I get distracted by mechanics. I love watching things work and figuring out how they're working. I'm also very good at figuring out how they're working. The Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test, I did not get a question wrong. And I did not get a question wrong because I'm very good with that sort of stuff. And they have all these questions about which way gears are turning and so, or at least they did. I don't know if the modern one is the same, but when I took it, it was a piece of cake. And the recruiter was shocked, and they didn't leave me alone for 5 years. Because I could never join the military. Let's face it. I would have done terribly in the military. I would have gotten killed or court-martialed or both. I don't know. I would have fucking hated it. First off, I've come to realize that, and no offense to anyone, but basically it's, you're just enforcing the will of the ruling elite. Sorry. People, I don't know. I have philosophical arguments against, I definitely watch Gandhi. That's what I'm going to say. Just watch Gandhi and read about him and read his writings and everything, and then you're going to kind of be like, oh, okay, I get it. I don't think we need to fight anyone, ever. I think it's far more courageous to not fight. As far as that goes. When somebody's threatening you, to not fight, even though you might end up dying, is, pretty damn brave. And you better strongly believe in what you're doing if that's the risk you're willing to take, So, that's where I stand with that. But anyway, so natural curiosity, that comes off a little bit weird at times and makes some people very angry at times. I don't like to make people angry, obviously, but it happens. I made someone very angry today. And where was I? Totally lost my train of thought. It happens sometimes. Well, why don't I explain how I made this woman angry? So basically, someone posted something about this woman who can lift 10 pounds with her vagina. 10 pounds with the vagina. So I posited, well, are you really lifting with the vagina? I mean, it's not like there's vagina curls, it's not, I don't really think it's lifting. Certainly you're squeezing very hard, right? And you can squeeze hard enough that something mechanical is getting squeezed up and lifting something. So in a mechanical sense, you are lifting it, but you're not lifting it like you're lifting weight with, a curl or a press or something like that, and part of the lift is mechanical, because if you put the wrong shaped object in the squeeze, it's not going to go anywhere, right? You can squeeze as hard as you, if you have just a perfect cylinder, right, and you're squeezing it, it's not going to go anywhere. You need the cylinder to either deform, or you need it shaped like a cone or a ball or something like that, so that more pressure can be put on one side of it than the other, so that it can be lifted up in order to squeeze something that way, right? That was my thing. Not that I'm not impressed that somebody can take their muscles and squeeze them hard enough and lift something up with the vajayjay. That is totally impressive. Okay, do not get me wrong, and I guess this woman totally got me wrong. My point was it really lifting in a sense of using the muscles to lift? It's just a matter of clenching and having the right shaped object in order to allow the clench to force the object up. That was my point. It's more squeezing 10 pounds up than lifting 10 pounds up. It's a semantics thing in a way, but it was a mechanical thing. And I was just asking about the mechanics of it. Somebody gave me an answer of a ball-shaped object. I kind of figure actually probably a cone-shaped object would be better, and it would have to be inverted, but that's besides the point. I just figured that would be better, okay? It'd be easier to squeeze it and have it pop up, right? So, I have a natural curiosity, and I ask questions, and they're legitimate questions. I have questions about things. I want them answered, and I don't necessarily always choose the right time and place to ask them or anything, but that's just the way that I am. And I don't know at the moment that I'm asking them that it's not the right time or place to ask them. It comes out, and then somebody reacts poorly, and I'm like, oh, that wasn't the time, okay. I really don't. I think it's always time for a question. I think it's always time when you have a question, when you want an answer to something that you think is important or interesting, that you should ask the question. You should always ask the question. That's just how I've always been. And it's caused me a lot of trouble at times. I've gotten kicked out of classes, things like that. I'm a very bad student because of it, believe it or not. You would think, oh my God, you must be a great student. You ask questions. No, because teachers hate when you ask questions. They hate it. Particularly really deep questions that are either beyond their scope or beyond the time allotted for the lesson or anything like that, they get really upset. And certainly the other students get really upset because now they feel like you're wasting their time with something that you were interested in. I was not popular in school either. But that's just the way that I am. I have a question, I'm going to ask it. It always happens. And I had a question and I asked it. And the people that I was asking got it. But the person who came in later did not get that I wasn't being rude. I wasn't denigrating this woman for being able to lift up 10 pounds with the Kegel muscles or whatever. I was just legitimately asking the question. So, I do. I ask questions. That's also why I'm so interested in science and things like that. New Horizons, how cool is that? How cool are the pictures coming back from that flyby? Forget about the heart-shaped thing. There are mountains. It's a young surface. There's geological. That means there's relatively recent geological activity on this ball of rock out the 4 billion miles away. We're getting so much data, so much information, so many great pictures coming back that are telling people so much about what's happening in this planetary system there. And it is so cool. Well, planetoid system, whatever. I was always raised as Pluto with a planet. I have difficulty with Pluto not being a planet now. I get it. I get why they're calling it a dwarf planet. I understand that. But, I'm going to call it a planet every now and then. I mean, that's just part of my upbringing. Sorry. And it's a scientific thing. I'm not offending anyone by calling Pluto a planet, am I? Maybe Neil deGrasse Tyson will come and smack me around. I don't know. Probably gets very upset about that. But sorry. It's just the way that it is. So, but it's all very cool. I mean, and I believe we've spent less on this mission than we've spent on, our latest warship, which is an aircraft carrier. And we've sent something 4 billion miles away. But, whatever. So, I think that we should be spending a lot more money on space exploration. I've talked about this. It is the one thing that we do as a species that makes sense as far as things that don't involve our immediate survival, of which most of that doesn't make sense either, the way we farm food. That's what we were talking about, the gummies. See? There we go. So, So, about the gels and everything. Wow. That's a long way to come back around to that one. So I started asking the question, well, what can I do to fuel during a race where I'm not reliant on some company's stuff? Because, I have Cliff Bars. And actually, I've never even read the ingredients on Cliff Bar. And I guarantee you, if I read them, I'm not going to be happy. So I was thinking, what can I do? All right. So I started looking up recipes for, energy stuff. And I found one that's kind of interesting. It uses a natural, electrolyte powder. It uses gelatin, which I won't use. There's no reason to use gelatin in anything ever. Gelatin is, if you didn't know, comes from the connective tissue and nails and stuff of animals. Okay? You don't need it. You don't need to use gelatin for anything. There's agar powder, there's pectin, there's all sorts of things that you can use instead of gelatin that do not come from animals. So I'm going to take the agar and use that. Kind of almost like a natural sports drink. I forget what it's called, Ultimate something or other. Then there is, and no, not Ultimate Orange, my hockey friends. I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but no, that's not what it's called. That's not what it is. I'm not using that crap. I don't even think they make it anymore. It's got tapioca starch, some sugar, and you just cook it up. It's like cooking candy almost. You make a little gummy out of it. You roll it in the tapioca starch, and boom, you're done. Simple. So I'm going to give them a try. I'm obviously not going to try them next weekend. I'm going to make some and try them out during some training runs throughout August. and see how they work out. If they work out, then I'll stick with them, you know. And if not, then I'll find something else. I mean, I have granola recipes that I can make, and I could do granola, and I could turn it into a bar and bring that with me. It's a little bit more difficult to wrap than some gummies. Where with the gummies, I can just take like a little baggie or something, and we'll get it figured out. So, we'll go from there, get it figured out, see what we can do. And, once again, natural curiosity. I like to make things. I like to do things myself. I enjoy it. I make my own sauces and ketchups and salad dressings. And, I'm growing lemon trees. And, I make my own limoncello. I'm not straight edge. So I drink. Which is funny because somebody on the Marathon Maniacs webpage, Facebook page, asked, what do you use for painkillers? Since they had that whole thing about Advil and other NSAIDs, being bad for your health with prolonged use or any use, it could cause heart trouble. So I said, well, I use hot peppers. And then somebody said, for acute pain, I use this, that, the other thing. I said, oh, acute pain, alcohol. Because I'm a smart ass like that. But acute pain, I'll use that. I'll also use Tiger Balm. Tiger Balm works for me. It should work for everyone, but it works for me. It works very well for me. So I stick with Tiger Balm and alcohol for really acute pain, kind of old school. And seriously, hot pepper. Hot pepper for long-term relief of pain. I've said this before. The chemical that makes peppers hot is a natural painkiller. So you have to have it in pretty high doses, but we do what we can. So there's that, and then I like to do things for myself. Okay, that was another Book Faces post today from one of my friends about do you get your man's food first or do you get your kid's food first? And some people are, oh well, and they're talking about this like it's a thing. This is a female friend, obviously. And I'm like, if somebody got my food for me, unless it was like a special occasion, like I'm sitting at home, if I had like a girlfriend or something, and she like brought me my food, I'd be like, what? You get your food, I'll get my food, everything will be good. Or like, I'll get your food if it's a special occasion or something like that too. But like, no. Like, when kids are helpless, yeah, they should get their own food. Someone should get their food for them. But there comes a point where everyone should be getting their own food. They can do that themselves. And it's like not, and all these people were writing about, this is all about the breakdown of family, and the man should eat first because it's a sign of respect, and this, that, the other thing. And I'm like, okay. And these are all people who I know through, like talking about racial justice and things like that, which is the thing that I'm big on. Okay. I'm big on the fact that 13% of our population is 6 times more likely to get killed by a cop than 70% of our population. It's kind of a problem. 6 times more likely, 13%. That's a very small number of people, but they're 6 times more likely than the majority, 70% of the population. So that's a problem. And there's a lot of other problems that go on with that. It goes into the whole Confederate flag thing and all that, and we're not going to get into that right now. You really want to know how I feel about it? South, you're a bunch of traitors. You're lucky that your leaders didn't all get hung after the Civil War. They deserved it. There you go. Anyway, that's what they did to people who committed treason back then. And that's what the Civil War was. You wanted to own people, so you threw a hissy fit. You tried to attack the North, and you lost. So anyway. So, someone's like, well, you're talking about equality on one hand, and then you're talking about classical dominant behavior on another hand. And you can't have both. Either everybody's equal, or we're not. And it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. We're either all equal or we're not. And the simple question is, and I'm sure that you gather this from everything else that I've said, is we're all equal. Each and every one of us. From the most horrible human being you can ever think existed to the most fabulous, wonderful, perfect human being you can think ever existed. We are all equal. Simple as that. Some of us express ourselves better than others. That's what it comes down to. And, we have to, reconcile all that, obviously. You have to figure it out, like, okay, well, this person killed, 6 million people. He's a horrible person. Yes, he's a horrible person. But he's still a human being. And, you don't have to necessarily appreciate or anything like that. You just have to, accept the fact that we are all human beings, that we are all created equal, and that's that. And then how we run with that, that's a different problem. Okay? That's a whole different problem altogether. That's a very difficult thing to mince my way through, but, we are all equal. Man, woman, child, everybody. Okay? As I've talked about the History Channel with the Ancient Aliens thing and how absolutely offensive I find that, because that's saying that human beings somehow didn't have the capability to do certain things. And the fact is that just because we like to think we're so much more advanced than people 2,000, 4,000, 6,000 years ago, the fact is that our mental capabilities have always been there. We may not have always had the exact knowledge, but we've always had the same ability. And you don't necessarily need the exact knowledge in order to express the ability. And you're like, what do you mean? Well, think of it like savants, right? Here are people that generally cannot function like a normal human being, but they have one aspect in which they excel beyond almost any other human being's capability. Okay? And they don't necessarily have any training in it. They just can do it. It's just an innate, they can do it. So you're telling me that 6,000 years ago, there wasn't some guy that could carve rock perfectly? Or whatever? Of course there was. Why? Because it's there, and we can see it, and it happened. And we still have it standing or sitting under the water or wherever it is. And we can say, oh, okay, a human being did that. And we don't have to sit there and chalk it up to some alien somewhere. Because it wasn't some alien somewhere. Because no alien anywhere ever would have any reason to come down to this place and deal with us on any sort of level. If they did, and they felt like, oh, we're going to give them some of this stuff or whatever, they would just give us their technology to go fly around and make it across several thousand light years in no time flat and, get up wherever they were going. So, they didn't do that. And somehow they just kind of left us here and then we're like, oh, we'll give you a little bit, but that's all we're going to do. And let you figure out the rest. That makes no sense. So, we are capable. We are all born equal. We are all born brilliant. And then circumstances and how we react to them then creates what we have. And then we create a system that keeps certain people down to begin with. So we create inequality. We create it in ourselves and we enforce it on the rest of society. And we do that by participating in a system that creates inequality. And some of us knowingly do it, and some of us do it without knowing. And that's why another reason why I like to do a lot of things on my own and try and do for myself, so I remove myself as much as I can from the system. Because I don't want to participate in a system that creates inequality, that creates poverty, that creates starvation, that creates scarcity, that creates this illusion that we don't have enough. That creates this illusion that some people are more worthy than others to have things. I don't want to participate in that. I want a new system. I want to participate in helping people out, but I don't want to participate in a system that visits the violence of poverty upon people just because we think that there's no better way. Well, there is a better way. And we have to sit down and we have to really think about the best way to bring that about and get people on board. It's difficult. It's difficult to tell people that what they believe, what they grew up with and everything isn't right. It's difficult to tell people that everything that they were taught as kids, like I've said this before, we were sitting there in elementary school and all the other kids were sitting around talking about how the Russians were going to come and get us, and those Russian kids were learning in school because they were going to be better than us because they hated us and they wanted to destroy our way of life. Don't you hear that all the time? The people that they designate as the enemy want to destroy our way of life. For all these people that want to destroy our way of life, they certainly don't end up doing it, do they? No. And you know why? Because, and I've said this before, those people don't want to destroy your way of life. They want to do exactly what you're doing. They want to live their life. They want to be as happy as possible. They want to do as much good as they possibly can, whatever their view of what's good is. Okay? They don't want to destroy you. Once again, they're being told the same thing. All those American kids are sitting there, and they're learning harder and working harder, and they're going to be coming after you because they hate you and they hate your way of life. They tell them the same thing. How is that possible, that both sides hate each other and want to destroy their ways of life? It's not. Except that's what we've been told, and that's what we've been trained to do. And we've been trained that our system is the best system, and it's the only system, and it's the only way it could possibly work. And that's just not true. Oh, well, we tried that way, and it didn't work, and we tried that way, and that didn't work. It's all feudalism with different window dressing at the end of the day. Every system throughout history has been the same system, and they give people more or less control or illusion of control based on, what the people are demanding. Right now, we're not demanding a lot of control. And how do you take your control back? And that's the other thing I wanted to touch on today, because I've heard a lot of people complain about taxes and this, that, the other thing. Oh, I pay taxes. You don't want to pay taxes, then you got to stop relying on outside forces to do things for you. You want lower taxes? Grow your own food. Make your own food. Fix your own car. Fix your own house. Make your own clothes. These are like big things. They're time-consuming things, and it's difficult to do. Once again, Gandhi, how did he create a revolution in India? What did he do? He spun cloth. He made his own clothes. He taught other people to do it. Well, other people really taught him in the end. He was the first to admit he was not very good at it. He went to the sea. One of the big things was the British taxed salt. Okay? And everyone needs salt to live. It's one of those things you need to live. So, they were taxing salt. He thought this was wrong, particularly since there's so much salt water surrounding India. He was like, and they didn't allow people to make salt. So what did he do? He marched to the sea and he made salt. And these were the things that he did. Okay? Just like, I hate to bring it up because people get it all wrong, but the Boston Tea Party, they didn't like the tea tax, they dumped the tea out, whatever. Which is kind of stupid when you think about it, and they also tried to frame the natives for it. That's neither here nor there. But he walked to the sea, he made salt. He built a commune. He really did. He built a commune, and he had all these people there, and they were all growing food and doing all these things to remove themselves from the British government's control. To say, we're going to do our own thing here, and you're going to let us do our own thing here. And then he would go out, and he would do things and show the other people in India, you can do these things too. You don't need the British to do it. Okay? And that's what you need to do. Picking up a gun in trying to fight the government, fight the man, or fight the Yankees, whatever you're trying to fight against, right? You're not going to do any good. You're going to kill people, one, which is going to make you the asshole and rob them of their lives and probably end up robbing you of your life. But the fact is that, okay, take the government. They have these multi-billion-dollar warplanes. Do you think they really give a crap about you having an AK-47? No. If the government really was intent and they really had all these secret forces and everything like people believe that they do, all these conspiracy nuts believe they do, trust me, they would just run over you and you wouldn't be able to stop them. So what's the point anyway? No. You want a revolution? Do for yourself. Make your own clothes, grow your own food, make your own food, fix your own car, all that stuff. Do it yourself. You want taxes to be lower? Do stuff on your own. You don't want to worry about garbage collection? Recycle. Compost. Reduce what you use. There's a million ways to do it. You got to read about it. You got to learn about it. You got to be committed to it in order to do it. But that's the thing. That's what people don't get. They want this big revolution. They want this huge society, but they don't want to lose any of the services that they get. So then you have to pay taxes for them. And let me tell you something. If the companies aren't paying taxes for them because they're we'll just move out. Well, the people then have to pay it. So every time they talk about cutting back on corporate taxes and taxes on the people that could pay taxes out the wazoo and it would never bother them because they're always going to have billions and billions of dollars sitting in trust. When they cut taxes on those people, you have to pick up the tab. And when they cut federal taxes, then the state has to pick up the tab because they're not getting the money from the federal government. And if the state doesn't have the money, then the town doesn't have the money. So your mill rate goes up, so your property taxes go up. Or whatever tax your town is charging. And then they say, oh, well, we'll just do a flat tax and everyone will pay, for whatever they use. Well, that doesn't work either because you get some woman working minimum wage with 3 kids. And who are you to tell her that she's not allowed to have 3 kids, by the way? Okay? It's just the way that life is. So she's working minimum wage and she's got 3 kids and she's got to go to the store and buy milk. She can't buy milk because milk is taxed. Because everything has a flat tax on it when you buy it. So what's she going to do? So the way to fix it is you want to pay less taxes, you want less government intrusion, all that stuff. Do for yourself. Do for yourself. And then the corporations lose power because they lose money and they don't have anything. And you get your friends all helping out and you're trading stuff back and forth. Maybe you're really good at making clothes. Maybe your friend down the street's really good at growing vegetables and you guys are trading. The government can't control that. The corporations can't control that. They try to. Monsanto will come in and say, oh, well, we have a patent on that eggplant over there. You can't do anything. But if you're not making any money off of it, they can't do anything. They can't enforce anything if you're not making money off of it. That's my problem with GMO when they have the suicide genes in there and you can't heirloom your food. You can't take, a plant this year and the seeds from that plant and grow it next year because the seeds won't germinate. And they do. They splice that in. That's my problem with GMO. I don't care about the science of health benefits or not. Okay? And yes, chances are things that have Roundup growing out of them probably aren't good for you. But the fact that I can't take a seed from this generation, plant it the next year and have food again, that's the problem. That's where I say this has to stop. Because that is going to destroy everything. Because you're going to have this one company or 2 companies that control all the food. And you can't do anything about it after that. There's no going back. So, holding on to seeds, heirlooming seeds, growing that stuff, that's huge. That's a big, big, big stuff. Particularly if you're concerned about getting rid of the big brother or government control. People say government control. It's really corporations controlling everything now. We get a choice, and I vote. You got to vote Okay, even if you don't like any of the candidates, you got to vote because you got to pick the most not objectionable, the least objectionable, the most not objectionable. Yes, and you got to like figure that out, and say, okay, this person is the best choice I have, and then your other options are to either run yourself or get a friend to run or whatever that you believe in, and you got to participate in the primary process and all that. And the more you participate in that process, the less control, once again, the corporations have over it. So as far as general society and the buying and selling, the commercial side, the less you participate, the better off things will become, because the less power these people will have, because the less money they'll have, right? And then on the political side of things, the more you participate, the more you get people to participate in the primary process and the yearly voting process. Every year there's an election. Then, at least in the US there is. The more you participate there, the better off you are, because the more power you're exercising as a people. So, there's two sides. There's the side that you got to retreat from and the side that you need to run to. And you have to do both in order to get things right. You have to do both in order to... You need people on the town council that are going to rescind orders about growing vegetables in your front yard and things like that. Because there are places where if you grow vegetables, if you grow a garden in your front yard or even in your backyard and you're trying to grow food for yourself, they're going to ticket you. They don't want you to do that. There are places in this country where that is a thing, where that happens. You need people on the town council that are going to get rid of those things, because those are all town ordinances. Those are all city ordinances, and you need to vote for the people that are going to get rid of those ordinances. That's what you need to do. That's how things start changing. It's not so much who the national politicians are, it's who the local politicians are, and everything grows from there. And that's why you've got to participate every year. You've got to participate all the time and in that. But then you've got to pull away from the commercial side. And that's how the people get their power back. So that's pretty much it. That's all we got for this week, for the most part. We're almost done. It is very important that, as I said, if you feel the inclination to do something about the situation and you want to, you don't want to pay taxes, you want the man to have less power, blah, 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 then you have to take the power. Rage Against the Machine, you got to take the power back. You do. And that's how you do it. You do it by not buying as much, by, growing your own food, making your own stuff, fixing your own stuff, not throwing things out, recycling things, reusing things, repurposing things. You do that, and you're going to make a world of difference. And if 100 people do it, if 1,000 people do it, if 1,000,000 people do it, things start to change, right? And then you got to participate on the other side. So my thing is, I'm going to make gummies. That's what I'm going to try and do over the next few weeks. I'll let you know how they turn out. I don't know when I'm going to have time to actually sit down and do them. Probably not going to be till after I move into my house, whenever that's done. Kind of wish that I had the time and I didn't have to work and I could have just, done the house myself at this point. Not my general contractor I love, and he's doing a great job and he's working so hard, and I would definitely want him to do what he's doing. But there are a lot of things that some of the subcontractors did that I could have done better, and I wish that I had done them. I mean, my general contractor is going to fix them, I know, but I feel bad for him because, he's got to make money, and he's not going to make money, and that makes me sad because he's my friend. So that's where we're at for this week. It was another fantastic time. I hope you enjoyed. I got kind of serious again this time after talking about vagina muscles and lifting things, but sorry. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. I hope maybe you were a little inspired to go out and try something, to do something on your own, to take some of that power back, and who knows, maybe you'll keep doing it and you'll really like it, and then things will get really fun really fast for you. Trust me on that. The more you do on your own, the more fun you're going to have with it. And believe it or not, you hit this threshold where you're doing things on your own, where suddenly you're making more time. Because you don't have to be running out to this store and that store and this store and that store, and then everything gets better. So I hope you learned something. I hope you were inspired. Next week, we're going to go over, well, it'll be right before I run my craziness, and we're going to talk about how prepared I feel and good stuff like that. So then we'll see what happens through the rest of the week. All right? So have fun. Keep running. I will see you guys again. Make sure you share if you liked it. All right? Take it easy. Have a great night. Ciao.